Have you ever felt the weight of a smartphone in your hand, waiting for a reply that never comes? The silence is deafening, isn't it? We have become a generation of chasers, constantly reaching out for ghosts and shadows. We chase ghosts, we chase shadows, and most tragically, we chase people who are not running toward us. It is a subtle form of madness that we often mislabel as love, loyalty, or persistence. But in reality, it is the slow, agonizing erosion of your own soul and self-respect. When you chase another person, you are signaling to the universe and to your own subconscious that you are not enough. You are essentially screaming, "I am incomplete, and only your fleeting attention can make me whole." This is the ultimate betrayal of the self, a rejection of the divinity that resides within you. Stoicism teaches us that our power lies solely within our own sphere of influence, our own choices, and our own character. By reaching outside that sphere to demand validation from another, you surrender your inner throne. You become a beggar at the gates of someone else's whim, hoping for a crumb of recognition. Is this the life you were meant to lead? A life spent in the shadows of others? Is this the dignity you were born with? Or have you traded it for the hope of a text message? Today, we stop the pursuit and begin the return to the self. Today, we reclaim the throne that you vacated the moment you started running after someone who doesn't see your worth. We are going to explore the ancient Stoic art of standing still while the world revolves around you. Because when you stop chasing, the world finally has a chance to catch up with your true essence. This is not about being cold or becoming a hermit. It is about being centered in your own gravity. It is about the realization that you are the prize, not the hunter, and certainly not the prey. If you have spent your nights wondering why they don't call, or why you aren't enough, this is your wake-up call. The Stoics knew a secret that modern society has forgotten. Power is never found in the hands of others. It is found in the moment you realize you don't need them to recognize you for you to exist. Let us begin the process of unlearning the habit of desperation. Let us dive.
The root of our misery is not that we love others, but that we have forgotten how to love the self without an audience. We live in a psychological reality where our worth is traded like a commodity on the open market of social approval. Every time you chase someone, you are devaluing your own currency in the economy of human interaction. Think about the mechanics of the chase. It requires a predator and a prey, or a master and a servant. When you pursue someone who is withdrawing, you are implicitly accepting the role of the inferior. You are telling your own nervous system that your survival depends on their presence. This is a biological lie that creates a cycle of anxiety and chronic stress. We have been conditioned by a culture of hustle and romance to believe that if we just try harder, they will see us. We believe that if we send one more message or show up at one more event, the scales will tip in our favor. But the Stoics, like Epictetus, would tell you that you are attempting to control the uncontrollable. You are trying to reach into the mind of another person and rearrange their thoughts to suit your desires. This is not only impossible, it is a form of self-inflicted torture. The hidden issue is a deep-seated fear of the void, the silence that remains when no one is cheering for us. We chase because we are terrified of what we might find if we sit alone in a room for an hour. We find a stranger there, someone we haven't spoken to in years, ourselves. The economic reality of the modern world mirrors this psychological trap. We are taught to be consumers of attention, always looking for the next like or follow to validate our existence. We have become beggars of the spirit, wandering the digital streets with our hats out.
But a beggar can never be a king, and a chaser can never be a master of their own fate. You have built your house on the shifting sands of other people's opinions. And now, you wonder why the walls are cracking and the roof is leaking. The foundation was never yours to begin with. It belonged to the people you were trying to impress. To regain power, you must first acknowledge the bankruptcy of the strategy. You must admit that chasing has brought you nothing but exhaustion and a diminished sense of self. Only when you face the emptiness of the chase can you begin to fill that space with something substantial. You must look at the person you are pursuing and realize they are just a mirror for your own insecurities. They are not the source of your happiness. They are merely the screen upon which you project your needs. It is time to turn the projector.
The first major realization of the Stoic path is the concept of attraction versus promotion. In a world obsessed with selling ourselves, the Stoic chooses to become a destination. Think of a lighthouse. It does not run across the beach looking for boats to save. It does not scream into the fog, begging the sailors to notice its brilliance. It simply stands, burns brightly, and remains anchored to the rock. The ships that need the light will find it. The ships that don't will pass by into the night. By becoming your own lighthouse, you shift from a state of seeking to a state of being. Real-world statistics and social psychology show that needing is the greatest repellent in human nature. When we sense desperation in another, our biological instinct is to retreat. It signals a lack of resources, a lack of stability, and a potential burden on our own energy. Conversely, self-sufficiency, the Stoic autarky, is the most magnetic quality a human can possess. Marcus Aurelius wrote extensively about the internal citadel, a fortress within the mind that remains untouched by external storms. When you retreat into your citadel, you are no longer concerned with who is at the gates. You are busy tending to the gardens of your own character and the libraries of your own wisdom. This is not a passive act. It is the highest form of discipline. It requires you to focus 100% of your energy on what you control: your health, your craft, your thoughts, and your integrity. As you improve these internal metrics, your external value rises as a natural byproduct. You stop being a person who needs and start being a person who has. You have peace, you have purpose, and you have a presence that doesn't flicker when the wind blows. People are naturally drawn to stability in a world of chaos. They are drawn to the person who doesn't need them, because that person represents a safe harbor. When you stop chasing, you allow the law of social gravity to work in your favor. You become the heavy object in the room that smaller objects naturally orbit. But this only happens when your focus is genuinely internal. If you are acting like you don't care just to get a reaction, you are still chasing. You are just doing it in reverse. True Stoic detachment is not a tactic. It is a transformation of identity. You must truly reach the point where their presence is a preferred indifferent. It would be nice if they stayed, but your world does not collapse if they leave. This is the birth of true power. The second core insight challenges everything you have been told about fighting for what you love. The counterintuitive truth is this: your power is directly proportional to your willingness to walk away. In the Enchiridion, Epictetus suggests that we should behave in life as if we are at a banquet. When a dish is passed to you, take a modest portion. If it hasn't reached you yet, do not let your desire run ahead to meet it. Most people spend their entire lives reaching across the table, knocking over glasses and making a scene. They believe that by showing more passion or effort, they are proving their worth. In reality, they are proving their lack of self-control. The strategy of the clean cut is the ultimate Stoic power move. It is the ability to see that a situation or a person no longer aligns with your virtue, and to simply stop.
No grand speeches, no dramatic exits, no long-winded explanations to someone who isn't listening. You simply withdraw your energy and reinvest it elsewhere. This creates a vacuum that is far more powerful than any argument. absence is a teacher that presence can never be. When you are always available, always chasing, and always there, you become a background noise in their life. You are the air they breathe, necessary perhaps, but completely ignored until it's gone. By walking away, you force the other person to confront the reality of your value through the lens of your absence. But more importantly, you prove to yourself that you are not a slave to your attachments. Stoicism is not about being a statue. It is about being the master of your impulses. It is the realization that I want this, but I do not need it to be me.
When you embody this truth, you become dangerous to those who would manipulate you. You cannot be bribed with affection or threatened with abandonment. You have already abandoned the need for their approval. This makes you a high-value individual, not because of your status or wealth, but because of your sovereignty. True freedom is the ability to say no to the things that hurt your soul, even if your heart still craves them. It is the cold, hard logic of the mind, protecting the delicate peace of the spirit. You must be willing to lose the person to find yourself. Most people are too afraid to take that risk, so they stay in the chase, becoming smaller and smaller every day. Do not be most people.
The climax of the problem is not a broken heart, but a broken life. If you ignore this reality and continue to chase, the consequences are severe and often irreversible. You are not just losing time, you are eroding the very fabric of your character. Every time you chase someone who has rejected you, you are training your brain to believe that you are a subordinate. You are building a neural pathway of inferiority. Over years, this manifests as a permanent beggar's tilt in your personality. You become someone who can no longer make decisions without seeking outside counsel. You become someone who fears their own shadow because it reminds them of their loneliness. The Stoic practice of memento mori, remembering that you will die, puts this into a terrifyingly clear perspective. Imagine yourself on your deathbed, looking back at the decades of your life. Do you want to see a highlight reel of you running after people who didn't want you? Do you want your final thoughts to be of the messages you sent that were never returned? The tragedy of a life spent chasing is that you never actually lived your own life. You lived a distorted version of theirs. You are a supporting character in a movie where you should have been the director. This erosion of character leads to a bitter old age, filled with resentment and the what-ifs of a coward. Stoicism demands that you take responsibility for the bits of time that make up your existence. Seneca warned us that we are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting it. Chasing people is the ultimate waste of the only non-renewable resource you have. When you stop chasing, you reclaim those hours, those days, and those years. You can finally apply that energy to your own growth, your own contributions, and your own peace. The severe consequence of ignoring this is the loss of the self, the most precious thing you own. If you don't belong to yourself, who do you belong to? You become a ghost before you are even dead, haunting the lives of others, looking for a place to rest. Stop. Stand still. Breathe. Feel the ground beneath your feet and realize that you are already home. You do not need to go anywhere to be worthy. You do not need to chase anyone to be loved. The only person who can truly give you the power you seek is the one looking back at you in the mirror. Regain your power by realizing you never actually lost it. You just stopped looking for it where it... To understand why chasing fails, we must look into the shadow of the human psyche. At the core of every chase is a hidden confession of perceived unworthiness. When you pursue another with desperation, you are communicating that they possess a value you lack. Psychologically, this triggers the pursuer-distancer dynamic, a cycle where one's neediness fuels the other's retreat.
Human beings are biologically wired to be wary of that which is too easily obtained. We subconsciously associate scarcity with quality and abundance with low value. By constantly making yourself available, you are inadvertently signaling that your time and energy have no market price. This behavior stems from an ancient fear of social exclusion, a survival mechanism from our tribal past. In the modern world, however, this survival instinct becomes a self-sabotaging trap. The person you are chasing senses the pressure of your expectations and feels their freedom being constricted. They don't see your devotion as a gift. They see it as a debt they never asked to owe. This is the paradox of desire. The more you try to force a connection, the more you erode the foundation upon which respect is built. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control how others perceive us, but we can control our own gravity. When you stop the chase, you break the cycle of validation seeking that keeps you in a state of perpetual anxiety. Realize that your pursuit is often not about the other person at all, but about filling a hole in your own self-concept. You are using them as a mirror to prove you exist, to prove you are lovable. But the Stoic knows that the mirror is often distorted by the observer's own insecurities. If you want to be found, you must first stop running after shadows that don't want to be caught. True connection is a mutual resonance, not a pursuit of a fleeing target. When you withdraw your energy, you force the other person to face the vacuum you've left behind. Only in that silence can they truly decide if they value your presence.
There is an uncomfortable truth that modern society desperately tries to hide from you. That truth is this: your absence is often more powerful than your presence will ever be. We are taught from birth that if we want something, we must work harder, run faster, and yell louder to get it. But in the realm of human dynamics, the opposite is frequently true. This is the law of the void, a rare insight that Stoics mastered centuries ago. When you remove yourself from a situation where you are not valued, you create a psychological vacuum. This vacuum creates a tension that most people find impossible to ignore. By being constantly present, you become background noise, a predictable element of someone else's landscape. But when you vanish, you become a mystery. Society ignores the fact that respect is not earned through submission. It is earned through the willingness to walk away. The elephant in the room is that many people only value what they are afraid to lose. If you have never given someone the opportunity to lose you, they have never had the opportunity to truly value you. Stoicism calls this the dignity of the self, the internal boundary that says, I am enough even if no one is watching. You must realize that being alone is not a tragedy. It is a position of extreme leverage. When you are no longer dependent on the attention of others, you become a person of substance. People are naturally drawn to those who seem to have a secret source of strength that doesn't rely on external approval. This is the magnetic power of the self-contained individual. Stop trying to be the most helpful, the most available, or the most understanding person in the room. Instead, try being the most self-respecting person in the room. The world treats you exactly the way you treat yourself when you think no one is watching. If you treat your time as a rare resource, others will eventually follow suit. Now, let us move from theory to the steel of practical application. How do you actually stop chasing and start building your own empire of the mind? The first step is the implementation of the Stoic 24-hour rule. When you feel the overwhelming urge to text, call, or check up on someone, you must wait exactly 24 hours before acting. In that window, the initial spike of neurochemical desperation will subside, leaving you with the clarity of reason. During this time, redirect that energy into a physical or intellectual pursuit that belongs solely to you. Go to the gym and push your body until the mental noise falls silent. Pick up a difficult book or a new skill that demands your absolute focus. You are literally rewiring your brain to seek dopamine from your own achievements rather than from a notification on a screen. Second, perform a digital audit of your social environment.
Mute the accounts that make you feel like you are competing for attention or falling behind. Third, practice the art of negative visualization regarding your relationships. Spend 5 minutes every morning imagining that the person you are chasing is gone forever. Accept this possibility, breathe through the discomfort, and realize that the sun would still rise and you would still have a life to live. By making peace with their absence in your mind, you remove their power over your emotions in reality. Fourth, invest your social capital into your financial and personal growth. Every hour spent wondering what someone else thinks of you is an hour stolen from your future self. Treat your attention like currency. Stop spending it on people who give you no return on investment. Finally, cultivate the fortress of silence. Learn to be comfortable in a room alone, without a device to distract you. When you can sit in silence for 30 minutes without needing anyone else to validate your existence, you have won.
When you fully apply this blueprint, your reality will begin to shift in ways that seem almost magical. The first change is internal. A profound sense of lightness replaces the heavy anchor of anxiety in your chest. You no longer wake up checking your phone with a sense of dread or desperate hope. You realize that the person you were chasing was never the source of your happiness. They were merely a projection of your own needs. As this realization takes root, your external reality begins to reflect your internal shifts. Because you are no longer putting out the frequency of need, people stop sensing the prey energy that used to define you. You will notice that those who ignored you suddenly start to become curious about your sudden indifference. They sense that you have found something more interesting than them: yourself. Your work will improve because your focus is no longer fragmented by social distractions. Your posture will change. You will stand taller, speak slower, and look people in the eye with the calm of a person who wants nothing from them. This is the shift from being a seeker to being a magnet. In the Stoic transformation, you become the sun around which your own life orbits, rather than a moon reflecting someone else's light. You find that you have more energy, more money, and more genuine peace. The irony is that by becoming comfortable with solitude, you become more attractive to the high-value individuals you once tried to impress. They recognize a peer in you, someone who is also self-governed and emotionally sovereign. You no longer ask, "Do they like me?" and instead ask, "Do they deserve a place in my life?" This flip in perspective is the ultimate expression of personal power. You are no longer a character in someone else's story. You are the undisputed author of your own. This transformation is not about becoming cold or heartless. It is about becoming centered. You are now a mountain, vast, unmoving, and beautiful, whether people choose to climb you or simply view you from a distance. When you fully apply this blueprint, your reality will begin to shift in ways that seem almost magical. The first change is internal. A profound sense of lightness replaces the heavy anchor of anxiety in your chest. You no longer wake up checking your phone with a sense of dread or desperate hope. You realize that the person you were chasing was never the source of your happiness. They were merely a projection of your own needs. As this realization takes root, your external reality begins to reflect your internal shifts. Because you are no longer putting out the frequency of need, people stop sensing the prey energy that used to define you. You will notice that those who ignored you suddenly start to become curious about your sudden indifference. They sense that you have found something more interesting than them: yourself. Your work will improve because your focus is no longer fragmented by social distractions. Your posture will change. You will stand taller, speak slower, and look people in the eye with the calm of a person who wants nothing from them. This is the shift from being a seeker to being a magnet. In the Stoic transformation, you become the sun around which your own life orbits, rather than a moon reflecting someone else's light. You find that you have more energy, more money, and more genuine peace. The irony is that by becoming comfortable with solitude, you become more attractive to the high-value individuals you once tried to impress. They recognize a peer in you, someone who is also self-governed and emotionally sovereign. You no longer ask, "Do they like me?" and instead ask, "Do they deserve a place in my life?" This flip in perspective is the ultimate expression of personal power. You are no longer a character in someone else's story. You are the undisputed author of your own.
This transformation is not about becoming cold or heartless. It is about becoming centered. You are now a mountain, vast, unmoving, and beautiful, whether people choose to climb you or simply view you